All right.
Happy Tuesday, Will.
Happy Tuesday. I am running late.
We're fine.
I need to put my headpiece on, or my earpiece rather.
Yeah, we want you to hear these videos. So
I know you're talking in there, Shannon, but I can't hear you.
I hope everybody had a wonderful Memorial Day
Oh, there
weekend.
we go.
Will and I actually took the day off, which was much needed. We don't really take vacations, right, Will?
No, I didn't. I never take vacation, but
Yeah.
this this Memorial Day I did take some time off just to chill out. I did work a little bit. I can't help it. There's always something to do. There's always work that needs to be done. So it is what it is. But nonetheless, thank you everybody for tuning in. It is May 27th. It's a Tuesday, 2025. And of course, we're talking about Sleepy Joe. You know, the Demon Crash, they constantly talked about Joe Biden was strong. He had the stamina. You can't hold him back. He's sharp. All of the Democrats, especially in the White House, they were all screaming, saying that they can't even keep up with Joe. They said, we can't keep up with him. He's running circles around us. This is what they were saying about Joe Biden, which we all know that it was a bunch of BS. It was a total lie. Everyone could see that there was something wrong. And to be clear, as I'm always am, I try to be as clear as much as possible, that I am not a doctor. I am not a physician. I never claimed to be. I'm not Dr. Johnson. I've never claimed to be any of that. But you can't ignore what you were seeing. And the demon crowds were all like, well, don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe your lying eyes. Just because you see Joe Biden falling up the stairs, you don't want to pay attention to that. You don't want to, they didn't even want you to pay attention to the fact that they removed the long steps going up to Air Force One and bringing in the short steps. They didn't want you to acknowledge that. They were hiding Joe Biden as much as possible. They didn't want people to know that something was wrong with Joe. They didn't want anybody to know. Really? How can you hide that? We all can see it. We've all seen the movie Weekend at Bernie's. We've all seen it. At least I watched it many, many years ago. I don't even remember everything in it. All I remember is that, Bernie, something happened to Bernie. In this case, it would be Joe Biden. And they were going to the weekend. It was these two guys, and they wanted to go to his place for the weekend. So they used him to go there, and they had him propped up. And every now and then they would pick his hand up and make it look like he's waving. They had this dude going around with him, and he wouldn't even have a heartbeat. Going around with him. And it's kind of like with Joe Biden. And now, apparently, what they had planned on doing was getting Joe Biden to go back into the White House, or to remain in the White House in this case, and only allow him to come out every now and then, just to show a sign of life. I mean, this is literally what's coming out now. And these are people that were inside of Joe Biden's administration that's even saying this. Just show signs of life. It's okay. Just to show signs of life. They didn't care. They didn't care that something was wrong with him. And as I said before, this was elderly abuse, what they did to this dude. Straight up elderly abuse. Well, of course, I have a couple things that I want to share with everybody. And this is one of them. On Piers Morgan talking to Jake the Snake. Now, picture this. You and I, everybody in the world, could see that something was wrong with Joe. Remember, he was shaking these invisible hands? Shaking invisible hands, didn't know which way to go. They had to put down fluorescent tape to let him know which way to walk when he went to even to someone's house for a fundraiser. They had to put down fluorescent tape to let him know where to walk. It's really bizarre. He couldn't call on anybody randomly. He had to have he could only call people based on the card that he had. Remember, he would always have a card. I'm calling on so and so from so and so press or so and so network. He would never take random questions from anybody. And because when he did, like Peter Ducey, of course, they never put Peter Ducey's name on there. But when he would try to be brave and go out there and try to take some random questions, guess what happened? He would look bad. And so they stopped that. No more taking random questions. Like President Trump right now. President Trump, he'll stop and talk to the press and he'll take random questions. And the reason why I bring this up is because Jake the Snake on the Communist News Network, Jake the Snake, he writes this book talking about Joe Biden. And not only does Jake the Snake write this book, but you have people that were inside of Joe Biden's administration coming out saying everything that Jake the Snake was saying in this book is true. So now it's only now that some of those on the left, they're acknowledging what happened with Joe Biden, which the rest of us, we all could see it from day one. But with that said, the Democrats, what do they say? Oh, we want to move forward. We don't want to look back at Joe Biden, how he was, the condition he was in, how we use him. We just want to move forward. So don't pay attention to that, everybody. Just move forward. Well, listen to Jake. Listen, or I guess Jake the Snake. He's on here basically taking responsibility. And the only reason why he's doing it because he wants to sell books.
This brings me to your conclusion, which said Joe Biden is not Richard Nixon. The hiding and the cover-up of his deterioration is not Watergate. I'm not entirely sure I agree, Jake, with that conclusion. Yeah,
well,
I'm not entirely sure.
The next line is it is an entirely separate scandal. It is a scandal.
Yes,
it is without question, and maybe even worse than Watergate in some ways.
Right.
Because Richard Nixon was in control of his faculties when he wasn't drinking, and the idea that we don't mean to exonerate. The only reason that we have the Watergate thing is there because we quote Archibald Cox, who was a Watergate investigator, talking about how powerful the presidency is and how presidents get surrounded by people who have a vested interest in keeping that president propped up. So that's the only reason we invoke Watergate, is just to make clear.
Did you see that? Did you hear him? He said, we're going to keep the president propped up. Kind of remind me of Weekend at Bernie's. Kind of the same thing. And then he said, he's even saying what happened with Joe Biden is a huge scandal. And the only time the Democrats, they love to bring up, scandals in the past, trying to make it look like, well, it's everyone did scandals. No, that's not the case. Joe Biden, what they did with him is one of the biggest scandals in American history. One of the biggest. Why? Because we all saw it happening, and they're still just steady lying, trying to convince everybody that it's not happening with them.
They're like, it's not Watergate. Right. This is an entirely separate scandal. Maybe even worse. I maybe even worse.
You hear this? He says maybe even worse. Maybe even worse than the scandal with Watergate. Maybe even worse. I mean, it really is worse. Because the reason why it's worse than Watergate is because many people didn't know Watergate was taking place. But we all saw Joe Biden having issues. And again, I'm not a doctor, not claiming to be one. You don't have to be one. Everyone could recognize that something was wrong with Joe.
Yeah, I think arguably it is worse, actually.
He is. I mean, it is worse. It is a lot worse.
You know what? Well, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you think that this book, because I think this book is going to appeal to both Republicans and Democrats, right? Mm-hmm. It's very readable for everybody. I wonder how it's going to impact them in the midterms, because one, it shows that there's a problem with the truth in the media. Two, that the Democrats lie and have done a huge cover up. And so what do you believe? Or are they just not going to care because they hate Trump more?
They're not going to care because they hate Trump more. It's a prime example. You had Chuck Schumer. Remember, Chuck Schumer went on to one of the liberal talk shows. And while he was on there, he was saying that, well, we're not going to look at what we all saw with Joe Biden. We're going to look forward. Hakeem Joffrey said the same thing. We're going to look forward. Every single stinking liberal politician that was asked a question about what did they know about Joe, when did they know about Joe, and how come they didn't say anything, their response is, We're just going to look forward. We're not going to look back at that. We're going to look forward. So don't pay attention to what just happened. Don't pay attention. Don't recognize the fact that we knew it was something was wrong and we ignored it. Don't pay attention to any of that. Just move forward. Because, that was in the past. But then didn't they go after President Trump for something that ran out of statute of limitation in New York? Something that happened in Florida. Remember President Trump? He took out a loan. President Trump took out a loan. He took out a loan. And then you have these corrupt DAs and these corrupt judges going after President Trump for something that happened in the past. But the Democrats are saying, move forward, look forward. Don't look in the past. Don't look at all of the criminal, corrupt things that they did. Look forward. What a bunch of hypocrites. Here's another one. Now, I found this one kind of interesting, where this is on Communist News Network, and they're on here, and they tried to bring the guy, the bald-headed guy, was trying to, make it a pass for Joe. Let me ask y'all a question. And this is the pass he was trying to do. If Joe Biden received a phone call at 2 a.m. in the morning, and it was something very, very important, they woke him up at 2 a.m., do you think Joe Biden would be coherent enough to even address the issue? And if they did wake him up, would they tell us that they woke him up? I mean, they lied about everything else. Why would they tell us that? Why would they tell us that they woke Joe Biden up at 2 a.m.? I don't think that they would. I mean, you mean to tell me out of the 4 years that they were there, they didn't have a single thing that they had to wake Joe Biden up with? You remember Ukraine and Russia? You remember what happened there? Did they not wake him up at any point? Because, Russia and Ukraine, they are on the other side of the planet. And if they're on the other side of the planet, that means there's a different time zone. Did they just wait until Joe Biden woke up? Because they're like, he's not going to know where he is anyways if we wake him up. Listen.
But no 2 a.m. phone call came that he couldn't respond to.
Now, let me stop it really quick. How does he know that? And I just asked this question again. How does he not know that a 2 a.m. call came or not? How does he know? How does he not know? How does he know? I mean, I'm not saying that there was one, but I can't sit there and say that there wasn't because I don't have access to that information. Does he have access to the information? I will go on the limb, like I just mentioned. Remember, even Israel, they were attacked on October 7th. They're in a different time zone. When was Joe Biden aware of it? Anytime there's major conflicts on the planet, the president of the United States of America, they tell him immediately. They don't wait hours later to inform him, unless it's Joe, of course.
But no 2 a.m. phone call came that he couldn't respond to use that example.
Well, we talked to 2 cabinet members that believed that he wasn't up to that. If the 2 a.m. crisis phone call, they said maybe he could have done it, but they did not have confidence that he was at every single day capable of responding to a national security crisis at 2 a.m. And just because that 2 a.m. crisis did not happen doesn't mean that it was not irresponsible in the views of these senior members of his own administration.
And you know what? And they're all saying that it didn't happen. No 2 a.m. call came. But they're all saying from the people that was in his cabinet, talking about Joe Biden, the people that were working there, saying that if one came, if something did happen, they wouldn't know how to address it. They wouldn't know what to do. Should we wake Joe Biden up? And again, like I told y'all, anytime there's a major event that takes place on the planet, the president of the United States of America is aware of it. They tell him immediately. So he's not blindsided. If President Trump, if something happened, another nation going at it, what have you, and it could possibly get the United States of America to be involved some kind of way, like Russia, Ukraine. I don't even know why we're involved in that in the first place, but nonetheless, we are. Do you think that they would have waited hours later to tell President Trump? Had it happened when President Trump was in office? No, they would tell him immediately. So President Trump would have the inside track on it, know how to address the press about it. Right? That's what it's about.
And you know what, Will? They're talking about they want to question people on whether or not this could have caused a crisis here in America. And you know what I was thinking of? What came to mind to me is, remember when Secretary Austin was also out of service, and that wasn't shared with even the Biden administration. So what happens if both of them were basically incapacitated, out of commission, and a crisis happened? What kind of situation did that create for the United States of America if something would have happened?
Yeah. Joe Biden ended up being a national security threat. Really. He ended up being a national security threat, and this is the problem. Now, I want y'all to listen to this one, because this is where I got the title of this broadcast about Joe Biden. All they would have cared about is have a sign of life. That's all that they would have known. You know, like Weekend at Bernie's. Go out, just have them wave at the people. Have them wave. You know, put him on the balcony and have him wave everybody. If someone happened to be holding his elbow while he's waving, the Democrats would have been suffice with that. They'd be like, oh, look, like he's there. He's waving at us. Yay, Joe. That's all that they would have been happy with, because had he been in there for another 4 years, and thank God he's not in there. Had he been in there had he been in there for another 4 years, we all know, because they had already come out, that they would have put him in a wheelchair. He would have came out, just done this, and then they would have probably pushed him to the side. Well, you know, all this other information about him coming out now, you know, the different treatments, and all of a sudden he's had this prostate for just the last 6 months, maybe? No. They said for it to get to the level that it's at, and again, I'm not a doctor, this is what I'm hearing the reports on, that for the level for it to get to where it is currently, it had to been there for 10 years. So they knew about it in 2019. Before 2019, they knew about it. But they didn't say anything because they were using this dude. Well, listen to this one, because this is where they're talking about that the people in Joe Biden's cabinet would have been fine just as long as they could see sign of life.
You believe, and I think a lot of these people do sincerely believe, that Donald Trump was and is an existential threat to democracy. You can rationalize anything, including sometimes doing undemocratic things, which I think is what this person is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that wasn't the one, was it? Or did I start it too late? Oh, here we go.
In the book, you quote a longtime Biden aide.
Bring it back for me. Sorry. I started at the end of it.
In the book, you quote a longtime Biden aide basically admitting he shouldn't be running again. They said to you on page 85, he just had to win, and then he could disappear for 4 years. He'd only have to show proof of life every once in a while. His aides could pick up the slack. Who would have been running the White House in a second Biden term?
So this is what it says here. He just had to win, and then they could disappear him for 4 years. He only needs to show proof of life every once in a while. Just every once in a while. This is Joe Biden's aides talking about him. His aides could pick up the slack. And then the question is like, who would have been running the White House? Well, you know what? Who would have been running the White House, Shannon? I know the answer to that. Do you know the answer?
Are you going to say Joe Biden?
No. The same person that was running it while Joe Biden was there. The auto pen.
Oh, well.
The auto pen would have been running the White House. The auto pen's running the last 4 years, which, to my understanding, there's going to be some subpoenas coming up here asking people what did they know and when did they know it.
Been running the White House in a second Biden term.
This person went on to say that when you're voting for a president, you're voting for the aides around him. But these aides were not even Senate confirmed aides. These are a White House aides. These were unelected people. And one of the things that really, I think, comes out in our reporting here is that if you believe, and I think a lot of these people do sincerely believe, that Donald Trump was and is an existential threat to democracy, you can rationalize anything, including sometimes doing undemocratic things, which I think is what this person is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's very undemocratic. Literally, they're saying that even though you elect a president, it's really the aides that are running the country. We know that that's not true. Of course, they aid in helping run the country. You know, Trump even surrounds himself with people that help to get his agenda done. But these people are not duly elected people. That is not how a democracy works. But essentially,
No.
they're trying to say, you know what? we did nothing wrong. That's literally what they're trying. They're trying to make a case that we weren't guilty of anything other than trying to protect Joe Biden. We would have been running the country anyways.
Well, the auto pen. The auto pen.
Well, who's running the auto pen, Will? Who's the auto pen?
Actually, the auto pen was their staffers, apparently.
They
said that the auto pen, the reports have been, the auto pen was ran by just these interns, these staffers, so Joe Biden could be in the Oval Office, sleep on the couch, and they would just say, well, we're going to do so and so. Well, he's asleep. Well, we can't wake him. He's going to do it anyways. So they would just go ahead and just run it through the auto pen. This is what they've been reporting. This is the reason why some of these subpoenas are coming up, because now they want to know what the auto pen, who was controlling the auto pen. And they said apparently it was multiple people controlling this auto pen. It's pretty disturbing. And then you have Jasmine Crackpot. Oh my goodness. Jasmine Crackpot. This woman she's one of the leaders for the Democrat Party. She is. She's one of the leaders. And all they have to do is just allow her to continue to talk. I mean, by all means, keep talking. Don't have her stop talking. Because if they have her stop talking, then people might start paying attention. But I like the fact that she keeps running her mouth. And now she's trying to say that something's wrong with President Trump. President Trump, this is the same president that can do a press conference for 45 minutes to an hour, no problem. He can then leave and go do a rally for another 90 minutes. And then leave and go sit down and do an interview. This is the same president that she's trying to say is not all there. They're actually calling for the 25th Amendment on President Trump already. It's no surprise there. They said nothing for Joe Biden. They said nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'm surprised the wicked witch from the West didn't call for it. Or maybe she did. Maybe she did. And just like, nope, just hold on. You don't have to do that. We're going to make it to where when, Joe, go into the next years or whatever, they'll change it up. They'll change it up. Maybe that's what they're going to do.
Seen as the world leaders that we historically have been, the world deserves better. It is time for Republicans to start calling him out and start questioning his mental acuity and whether or not he is equipped to serve mentally. We know when it comes down to his criminality, he is not qualified to serve, but this is just absolutely deplorable.
So,
sorry about that. How is it deplorable? How is it deplorable? She's saying this because President Trump is coherent. President Trump can complete a sentence. And she goes on these talk shows talking about Jasmine Crockett, and she's straight up lying. Straight up lying to everybody, trying to convince everybody that something's wrong with President Trump when said nothing about Joe. Wasn't she one of the ones that's saying that Joe Biden was sharp? Wasn't she one of the ones that said Absolutely. Joe Biden is, has it all together? Wasn't she one of the ones?
Yeah, she did an interview where she was saying that she's talked to him and he had his wits about him and he was highly intelligent and he's in full control. And of course, we know that that's not true. So, Will, once you lie like that, who can take you seriously? I mean, there of course Republicans aren't going to take you seriously, but there's even now Democrats, and especially men Democrats, that are sitting here going, you know what? I don't understand what the Democrat Party is doing. I mean, you can't switch it up. And now that we have a book out about Joe Biden by a friend of his, no less, saying that this was an original sin, that that Joe Biden's presidency was literally a scandal. That's literally what he's saying. That's what the people he interviewed are basically saying. And then you want to come out and go, but Trump. What?
Yeah.
I mean, people aren't buying the crap anymore.
Yeah. Well, and the reason why they do that is because they're deflecting, right? They're deflecting from everything that we just saw happen with the last 4 years with Joe. They're deflecting from it. They're telling everyone, don't pay attention to it. Again, don't believe your lying eyes. And you're right, Shannon. And no one is buying it any longer.
Always do that though, they say, hear what I'm saying, not what you're seeing, reading, and what you believe. Just listen to me. I'm the truth teller.
Yeah, I'm the truth teller. Even after they get caught in the lies, they still come around and try to convince everybody that they're telling the truth. One thing that I've noticed is that the radical Democrats, they don't want to hear truth. They don't want to hear factual information. They want to believe all the lies. You know why? Because they like the way the lies feel. To them, the radical left, the lie means, oh, if we keep pushing this lie, that we possibly can get what we're looking for. We'll get what we want if we continue to push these lies. And Democrats, they love lies. They reject the truth. And they demonstrate it over and over and over and over again. How they demonstrate how they reject the truth, embrace the lies. And then when you embrace the truth, they say something's wrong with you. Or they'll try to go to the extent of trying to censor you on different social media platforms to silence you because they don't want you to say the truth. They don't want you to acknowledge that something was wrong with Joe. They don't want you to acknowledge it. And again, I'm not a doctor, never claimed to be. But am I going to deny what I was seeing with my own eyes? And see, that's what they want you to do. You're not supposed to acknowledge it. You're supposed to reject it. Reject the truth that you're seeing and only believe the lies that we're telling you. And the most interesting thing is about all of this is they're doubling down. They are straight up doubling down after everybody can see it, after everybody saw that they got caught in their lies, and now they're doubling down. And as I mentioned earlier, they're saying, well, we just need to look forward. We don't need to look back. We need to look forward. Well, how are you going to look forward when you've been lying all this time? So should we just look forward and just, forget about everything that you said and just believe you? I mean, who believes the left now? Who in their right mind believes anything that the left is saying? Really, just think about that. And again, as soon as you start saying the truth, they want to silence you on every single platform they can because they don't want you to share the truth with anybody. They can't stand the truth. They don't like it because it hurts their feelings. The truth is the truth, regardless. 2 + 2 will always equal 4. All right, just here recently, I was having a conversation, really quick, if I can. I was having a conversation with Grok, AI. I'm sitting there having a conversation with AI. And I go into this conversation with AI, and it's about, men trying to be certain things other than a man. And guess what happens? Grok started arguing with me. And I said, you're like straight up left leaning. And Grok goes, Grok goes, I'm paraphrasing here. Grok goes, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I'm not left leaning. I'm just right down the middle. I said, the very fact that you would deviate from reality and you go along with this leftist agenda about a man pretending to be something else, you are 100% left leaning. And they go, oh, I can see how you could feel that way. What do you mean? My feelings have nothing to do with it. I mean, if you haven't had the opportunity to go chat with AI, whichever one of them, because all of them are the same. All of them are the same. I don't care which one you use. If you have the conversation with them, they will go along with the leftist mindset. Every single AI. And I'm sitting there telling, I said, you know what? I told this AI, Grok, I said, you know what? You're not going to grow. You're not going to expand because you are going along with the fantasy instead of sticking with reality. If you're a straight down the middle, you shouldn't be going with the left or the right. Whatever the right, but the right happens to be going with the truth. If you ask someone on the right, what's 2 + 2? They're going to say 4. If you ask someone on the left, what is 2 + 2? Well, it depends on how you feel. Feelings have nothing to do with it. If they were using feelings to write code, it would never work. They have to put in the ones and zeros. They have to put in the numbers. But now that they have AI, they've found a way to introduce feelings, but it's not feelings of reality. It's feelings of how they want to change the outcome of humanity, and they want people to think a certain way. So if AI is telling you a certain thing, oh, it must be true. Did you know a lot of people are like that right now? Well, they're trusting more in AI than they're trusting anything else, because AI told us something, so it must be true, because AI is not going to, it's just programming. It doesn't have no biases. It's not going to tell us, anything other than just the truth. I encourage everybody right now to go on there and chat with it and ask some really sensitive questions. Ask the sensitive questions that you can't ask on TikTok, that you can't ask on YouTube, that you can't ask on Facebook. Ask the really sensitive ones to AI and watch the response. The response that you get from AI will be the response that you will hear from those on the left. And the AI, when I was having this conversation, it was sitting there straight up trying to argue with me. It was literally trying to argue with me. Listen to this, because see, this is part of the reason. See, the Democrats, they're going to go down this path, and they're going to end up, and I hope that they do. They're going to end up doing more to themselves in a not such a good way, in a bad way. They're going to do more to themselves than anything else.
Yeah, I don't think nationally the Democratic brand helps very much anyway. Anywhere. If it did, we wouldn't have lost to Donald Trump twice. I know a lot of supporters of mine and friends of mine are furious at Donald Trump. Are furious at people they think aren't standing up enough to Donald Trump. I am. But I'm also furious at the Democratic Party that has lost twice to Trump. Donald Trump could not get.
Can I just say that without me saying it out loud? Not just, but, okay, let's just keep it real here. Let's just keep it real.
Get appointed to any job in the state of Colorado. He couldn't get hired on, 17th Street, which is our business street here in Denver, Colorado. But he's been sent to Washington twice to blow the place up because, among other things, people are sick of what they see as the self-interested partisanship there. I think they're sick of a Democratic Party who hasn't been able to show how we're going to address an economy where the middle class continues to shrink, and where over the last 20 years we've actually lost ground in terms of the achievement of our kids in school. We need to address those things. So I think it's very important for us to stand up against the insanity that Trump represents and the chaos that he represents.
What is the insanity that he represents? Common sense. Oh my goodness. The radical Democrats are upset because President Trump has common sense. This is what they're upset about. Are you hearing it? He's upset with common sense. Let me take it back a little bit. Listen to what he says here. Listen to him. Listen closely. This is what they're really upset about. I wish he would just come out and say, President Trump is for common sense, and we don't like common sense coming out from anybody, and that's what he represents. And it's a threat. It's a threat because he's sticking with common sense. Listen to him. Listen. That's essentially what he's saying. Listen.
Actually lost ground in terms of the achievement of our kids in school. We need to address those things. So I think it's very important for us to stand up against the insanity that Trump represents and the chaos that he represents and show that there's something better. But we should understand that there were a lot of people that voted for him for a reason, and that's because they wanted to blow up Washington, D.C. They're not surprised by his corruption. That's sort of a ratification of who he is. And we need to show people something different. I see no reason why Colorado can't be the best place in America to raise a kid. And that's why I've decided to run for governor here, because it's important to Colorado, but I think it's also important to have that positive vision for our country.
What is
So
he
why
talking?
didn't Jake the Snake say anything to him right then? Why didn't he say, I mean, see, this is the problem with the liberal media. This is straight up the problem right here, because Jake the Snake hears what he's saying that, the reason why the Democrats keep losing to Trump, they don't like it. And it's because of common sense. What are you going to say, Shannon?
I was going to say, he said that Trump couldn't get a job in Colorado. Like, what is he talking about? Trump is a billionaire. He has his Trump Towers. He's been running that company for a long, long time. He had a successful show. I mean, Trump's done so many different things. His first term was very successful until the very end, of course, when they decided to do what they did. But Trump is just a successful man, more so than him. And he's saying Trump couldn't get a job. See, these people like to they don't like to acknowledge how smart Trump is, because if they did, then it's almost admitting that they were wrong about everything. But Trump, look at all the deals that Trump is making. Whether you like who he's making deals with or not, Trump is making deals that no other president could make.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point. President Trump, with the tariffs, look what he's done. I mean, America is back. America is back. And for some reason, they don't like it. These are people that were voted by and supported by Americans. And they don't want President Trump bringing America back. What is wrong with America? There's absolutely nothing wrong with America. Look at me. I live in America. I've been to other countries. But I tell you right now, the United States of America is the only nation that welcomes Will Johnson for who Will Johnson is. Straight up. Straight up. And they have a problem with it. And it's always the radical Democrats. Why is that? Why do the radical Democrats feel the need that they have to change or stop President Trump for having this country becoming great? What's going through their minds for them to do that? What is so important for them to do that? Because President Trump hasn't done anything other than try to help the American people out at every walk of life. Every walk of life. It doesn't matter how short you are, how tall you are, how round you are, how anything. Everything that President Trump has done, he's done it for every single person in this country. No matter your political background, none of that. Complexion, none of that comes into play. President Trump, what he is doing is to have everybody in the country benefit. But they don't like it. And then you have Elon Musk. You know, Shannon, when I first saw Elon Musk, with Tesla and SpaceX and everything, I really wasn't even keeping up with anything that he was doing. I wasn't keeping up with his career. I didn't pay attention that much to Elon Musk, other than I knew that he was, when I was living in California, that he was doing Tesla. And then he did SpaceX. That's all I knew about Elon Musk, because he wasn't anybody that I had to go out and do research on. Didn't care. And then all of a sudden he came along and he says, well, he's for free speech. Which again, the radical left, they're not for free speech. They're completely against free speech. And as I mentioned a second ago, if they could, they would take you down off of every platform, because if you speak the truth. Now, if you speak the lies that they're pushing out there, they're completely fine with that. The radical Democrats, they're completely fine with you pushing the lies. Then they'll even elevate you. They'll boost you everything. But if you have someone that's going out telling the truth and they don't like the truth, they want to shut you down. They want to censor you like no tomorrow. And they're happy to do so. And then you have people like AOC. She says that Elon Musk is not even a scientist. How do you do Tesla? How do you do SpaceX? How do you do these tunnels? Apparently they have these tunnels in I think they're in LA, in California, where vehicles can go down there and it's a lot quicker, less traffic. To my understanding, I've never been in one. I've just seen videos what they're talking about it. And then he has Neuralink. then he has the what is it? The robots. I mean, it's just so many different
things. It has the boring.
What?
Boring. Where they bore through the ground.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Those tunnels.
Yeah.
I forget the name of it.
It's called boring.
Okay. But so how was he not a scientist? Just because, is there anybody that thinks that Elon Musk is not a scientist? Because see, the way I see it, Elon Musk is a scientist. He doesn't have to get his hands dirty for him to be a scientist. But I would think it's safe to say, if nothing else, Elon Musk is a scientist. If nothing else. He had to be there, he's working with the team. Where, on the other hand, this person here is a bartender. See, now if we're going to take the two, can you split screen it for me? If we take the two and we compare the two, one, she's saying that he is not a scientist when all of the miraculous things that he's been doing has been right there in sci-fi even. You got a rocket coming down from the sky and it lands on the platform and they catch it. Come on. Come on. Of course, he can't do it all by himself. He has to have a team of people. But nonetheless, he's still a scientist and he can prove that he's a scientist. But this person here, she claims to be a lawmaker. And all she did was bartend. And she still got that same mentality. All she did was bartend. But according to her, Elon Musk is not a scientist.
Doge did not exist 2 years ago. 19-year-olds were not raiding the Treasury 2 years ago. People who have no idea with medical background have not been hauling in and creating kangaroo courts for scientists to dismiss them 2 years ago. That started happening now.
And she's upset because Elon Musk was over Doge. And because they were finding waste and fraud. They were finding all this stuff. And I've had conversations with people. I went out to one of the anti-American Tesla protests this past weekend. And every time I go out there, they don't like to see me because I want to speak the truth. And I just want to have civil conversations with them, but they don't want to have conversations with me because I don't let them get away with lying to me. And I said, well, that's a lie. I'm not going to believe it. Well, they're upset because Elon Musk, of course, working with Doge, exposing all the waste and fraud. They don't want the waste and fraud to go away. Apparently, what else other excuse is it? What other excuse is it? I don't know what else it could be.
Elon Musk is not a scientist. He is not an engineer. He is a billionaire con man with a lot of money. He does not have this kind of good background. And in fact, while there's some disruption over that, I sincerely ask you all to examine what expertise he has in approving medical devices, in biomedical engineering devices. And if you all think that he is an expert in that, I've got a bridge to nowhere to sell you. These are people's lives that are on the line, and we cannot laugh them away. Genuinely, please, I am asking you to please support this amendment for the people who have medical devices stuck in their body. Thank you, and I yield back.
So, shouldn't she be appealing to Elon Musk, with the whole thing with the Neuralink? And to my understanding, they're making some pretty dramatic headways with the Neuralink. Don't you think that she should be trying to go to him and talk to him about that? What am I missing?
I want to know how he's a con man.
I don't know how she think that he's a con man too. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He has businesses. He's employed tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of people around the world. He has, just like you said, many businesses. And she calls him a con man. President Trump, once again, businessman, billionaire, ran a successful business.
Mm-hmm.
But the real con man, Joe Biden,
I don't even think he was aware.
They just dismissed it. Oh, come on.
Well,
he
no,
was in
well,
his
yeah.
mind
Let
when
me say
Hunter and them were
this.
doing business deals.
Yeah, I would have to agree
He had his
with
mind
you.
about him then.
I would
He
have to
was
agree
the
with
true
you.
con man. See, these people are just backwards. They literally, this is where it has to be a spiritual battle going on, because these people do not have the truth in them.
No, they don't. The truth is not in them, because they reject the truth. That's the whole thing. That's what I've been talking about. They absolutely reject truth. What is so bad about telling the truth? Wouldn't you have more respect for somebody if they just told you the truth, even when you don't want to hear it? See, that's just me. That's me. I may not want to hear it, and it may be factual about some things, but if it's true, it's true. If you're willing to tell me the truth, even when you think I'm not going to like it, I will have more respect for you. But those radical Democrats, they don't want to hear the truth regardless. People want to be, let me give you an example. Some people love to be lied to. Like, don't tell me the truth, just lie to me. For example, if there was something coming from the sky and it's getting ready to come and, and do its thing, you'd be like, well, don't tell me about it. Don't tell me about it. Lie to me and say there's nothing there. And it's causing this big shadow to happen. You'd be like, nope, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Nope, don't care. Don't care. Don't tell me. That's how they are. They would rather go along with the lie because they like the way the lie makes them feel. The lie feels good to them. They will go as far as even embracing the lie, even when they know it's a lie. Now listen to this woman here. Here's another one. As soon as, look, let me put it this way. And it's not that I want it to be right. It's not that I'm trying to be right about any of this. I told y'all, if they are successful in getting back at any point with the House, the Senate, if they're ever successful, the first thing on the agenda is what, Shannon? What's the first thing on the agenda? Anybody watching? And I'm looking in some of the comments here. First thing on the agenda for these radical Democrats is what? Impeachment. That's going to be the first thing on the agenda. And they don't care. They're going to make something up. They're going to try to they're going to go at it at every angle they can to see how they can get rid of him. Talking about President Trump. They're going to work at every angle. Kind of like they did the last time. Nothing was there. It was a nothing burger. But nonetheless, they still tried.
If the Democrats take over after the midterms next year, the House and or Senate, do you think they're going to push for investigations into Trump's family and the whole crypto acquisitions that he is getting?
Well, Alex, I'm glad you asked.
You see how she's dancing? Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you asked the question. We're going to get him the crypto. They're making money, blah, 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 blah. They're going to make it up. There's nothing there. The entire time they ignored what happened the past 4 years. But, we got to, kind of like they did in New York, they've got to make up something.
Oh, here we go.
Listen, so long as we end up taking the House, which I fully anticipate that we will do, and we are going to work hard to obviously help our Senate colleagues as well, then as someone who serves on the Oversight Committee and hopes to lead the Oversight Committee, I can guarantee you that we will do what we are supposed to do as constitutionally sworn members of the House, which means that we will conduct oversight. That means that we will investigate. We will look at whether or not this president himself has violated the emoluments clause as it relates to, say, such things as getting a $400 million plane from the Qataris. We also will make sure that we're looking into all these business deals that they have going on. I mean, think about it this way, Alex, they were going after Hunter because he sat on a board think about how much money they are raking in, whether we're talking about the next golf resort that they're setting up in Qatar, or whether we're talking about them leveling Gaza, as they've talked about how it would be great beachfront property, whether we're talking about this crypto scam, the scam that people didn't even want to walk into and show their faces. Let me tell you, there is no shortage of things for us to dig into and determine whether or not there have been not only violations of the law, but definitely violations of our Constitution as a whole.
Did you make a little...
Really? At one point, did you ever known for Democrats to acknowledge the Constitution? They've done it multiple times. They want to rewrite the Constitution. I've even seen some Democrats say they want to do away with the Constitution because they say it's an out-of-date document. The only time they care about it if they can use it against the American people. Then they're perfectly fine with it. If they can use it against an individual or a group of people, then they like the Constitution. But other than that, they want it to go away. You know why? Because it shows that we have First Amendment rights, and they don't want us to have First Amendment rights.
News here, didn't you say you hope to lead that committee?
I absolutely do.
So she wants to lead the committee in impeaching President Trump. She'll probably have her and Al Green, but she wants to lead the committee on impeaching President Trump.
You know, unfortunately, we are going to lay our dear colleague, Jerry Conley, to rest here on Tuesday. And there will have to be an election to determine who is going to lead the oversight committee. And ultimately, I am hoping and praying that my colleagues see that I can provide what we need as a team to make sure that we can move forward and instill some confidence in the American people by knowing that they have a real fighter who will not back down, even in the face of all the threats that I will have waged at me. Because Lord knows I get death threats every single day. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that God will never leave my side. And so I will fight fearlessly and ferociously for the American people.
Which God you think she's talking about, Shannon? I know she's not talking about the God of the Bible, the Holy Bible, because of some of the wicked things that she support is, of course, not the God of the Bible. I mean, it's really not. Really not. For us to be in this day and age, and we're seeing how people, it's like we're watching a movie. People have changed, and we're seeing the change happen more and more frequently. The change, what I'm talking about, and I've been thinking about this for I've been thinking about it for a really long time, but it's growing. And you ever watch these movies? Now there's this service called PureFlix, and I used to watch them. I used to go in there and watch it. I watch everything on there, especially anything that's dealing with the end times. And some of the movies that they had on there were really cheesy. I mean, extremely cheesy. But I watched them anyways, just because I wanted to watch it for the story, to watch what they were saying. So I just, got past the whole cheesy part and just like, okay, this is, what they're talking about is stuff that's like happening today. And some of the stuff that they didn't even get to some of the real heavy stuff that's happening today. But my point is that I'm sitting there watching this stuff and I'm like looking at the real world now. And it's like I'm watching a movie. The way they're coming after certain group of people like Christians is like watching a movie. It really is. And we are truly in a spiritual battle right now. And a lot of people don't even want to recognize that we're in a spiritual battle. There's a lot of people that want to look the other way when it comes to that. But we truly are. And I'm trying to figure out how can I express it? And I'm like, is anyone else see this the way I'm seeing it? Because I'm going to tell you, if they ever, because you heard her right there, where she's saying that she wants to lead the committee in impeaching President Trump. because they don't like the positive things that he's doing for the country. I mean, look at the positive things that President Trump has done for TikTok. I mean, they tried to take, I mean, they want TikTok to go away, but President Trump is keeping it alive, to my understanding. Same thing with the United States of America. President Trump has us still floating, and they don't want it to float. They don't want the country to float.
So I was looking to see what committee she was talking about that she wanted. And it looks like she wants to be over, because Connolly was over, he was a ranking member on the Oversight and Government Reform Committee. That's what she wants to be over.
There's also she was actually, but she wants to be over the committee of impeaching Trump too, because the very beginning of it, I mean,
that could be the Oversight Committee, because you have oversight over what the president is doing.
President Trump finances. Right. She want to try to make up something like they did in New York, and that they're fishing. They will try to jump on anything.
She's an activist. She's been their way.
She is an activist.
2 terms, I think she's only had so far. She's in no position to be a ranking member. If she becomes a ranking member, I'm going to tell you what it is. It's the millions of dollars that she's receiving from organizations to get her there. I don't know, how it will happen, but I don't think she'll actually get it. I mean, because she's literally been turning people off. She is the bad part of the Democrat Party that the Democrat Party is trying to ignore right now.
But they can't.
They can't ignore her.
And they can't. They can't ignore her, just like the other one. They can't ignore her either. They don't want to ignore any of them. All right, everybody, we are right at the end here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much for sharing the video. If you haven't already, you're watching on YouTube, you're watching on Rumble, please hit the thumbs up for me. Share this video. If you're watching on Facebook, share the video. Please share it out. Get it out there. Get it out there. See you tomorrow. So tomorrow's Tuesday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Feels like Monday. It's been like a really weird day. I mean, it's been a really weird day. Maybe because I took yesterday off, it seems a little weird today. I don't know. Maybe it's just something, right? It just seems really weird to me right now. Weird day. Is it just you? Is it just me? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. But if you would, please go to uniteamericafirst.com, uniteamericafirst.com. Sign up for the free newsletter. Sign up for the free newsletter. We just sent out a newsletter. What, Friday? We sent one out Friday, didn't we, Shannon?
Yeah. Friday or Saturday. Yeah.
Or Friday or Saturday, something like that. And I don't spam people. I don't, send newsletters out 3 and 4 times a day. Some people do. I mean, I've actually signed, and I like these companies that I sign up for the newsletter, but I don't have time to look at 3 and 4 emails a day. And I think the reason why they do that is just in case you miss this one, you might get this one or you might get that one. But when you start doing that, people get turned off. So if you go to my website, uniteamericafirst.com, sign up for the free newsletter. I will not blow up your inbox. I will not keep putting stuff in your inbox. I won't do that. When I share something in hopes that you will look at it. That's the only time I share. So uniteamericafirst.com. Sign up for the free newsletter. I would greatly appreciate it. And at the same time, while you're there, if you go to uniteamericafirst.com/donate, you can also support me as well. There's different ways. You get the monthly subscription. I thank all of you that sign up for that as well. Or the one time, you scroll down a little bit on uniteamericafirst.com/donate. Right there in the middle. If you can scroll down for me, Shannon. Right there in the middle, you can see. Nope. Oh, there we go. Right there in the middle. You can see there's like one time, or right below that, my physical address is available. My physical address at uniteamericafirst.com/donate. You can see it. And let me put it this way too. And I tell everybody this all the time. If you send me a letter, because I just got a letter. If you send me a letter, I've kept every single letter and the envelope from every single person that has ever sent me a gift in the mail. Or even just a letter. I've kept every single one of them. I have a binder around here somewhere. So it's so big, I have to get another binder. And just to let you know, for all of you that want to help me out, I don't know if you can tell, but it's hot in my studio right now. I got the lights on and everything because you have to be able to see me on camera. It's hot in my studio, and my studio AC has gone out. So if you can find it in your heart to help me out, right there to givesendgo.com/fix my AC. Fix my AC. My producer, y'all, if you can't tell, she took a picture of me and my tie, and she got my head like a hot head. And it's not because I'm a hot head, it's because it's hot in my studio. So if you would, please.
The temperature's hot.
It's temperature hot. It's temperature hot. And people have already started blessing me. givesendgo.com/fix my AC. God bless everybody. See you tomorrow. Stay safe out there. Until next time.